Hey everyone, this is Ivona Mila Elizondo again. Hope everybody is staying safe. Y'all are doing well during this continuous pandemic. So I'm here today to talk a little astrology. I hope that Mercury retrograde is treating you all well. I'm not even going to go down that road because, there's some days where Mercury retrograde and I just kind of duke it out, but typically Mercury wins. So what I do want to spend some time on, though, is talking about the moon. If you know me and you read some of my posts and maybe seen some of the videos, you know that I absolutely love Luna. She's my go-to. She's my favorite in the sky. And I want to share some information about the moon and what it means and how maybe you could use it in your daily life. So this is some astrology. Might help if you have, at least a little basic knowledge of the different zodiac signs, because I'm going to mention them, but not in detail. So if you do want more information about, the specific zodiac signs, I would be absolutely glad to help. But this is really going to be a quick rundown of the moon and how you may be able to use it, throughout your days or throughout your month, right? So the moon is the object in the sky astrologically that moves the most quickly around us, right? It has a 28-day cycle, and we actually can see it growing, waning. We can see when it's full. Waxing. When it's growing, it's waxing. And we can see when it's full, and then we can see when it's diminishing or waning, and then we can see or not see it when it's the dark and the new moon. So the moon itself represents, traditionally, I practice traditional astrology, the perception, how we perceive our experience, how we perceive our reality. Now that's been translated into modern astrology into the moon representing our emotions, right? So our emotions fluctuate consistently, okay, from moment to moment, sometimes from day to day, just as the moon fluctuates within her 28-day cycle. So there's this collective perspective that I have in astrology that the moon represents our perception, and it is through our perception that we will ultimately determine what emotions and feelings we are experiencing at a particular time. So with that being said, I'm going to give you a brief rundown of the moon in the different zodiacs, but I am describing them based on element. If you also know me, if you had some readings with me, you know that I use the elements quite often within astrology. That's a high point for me within my astrological readings, because I think the different elements can definitely give you some really good insight into those specific areas of your life that you're strong in, and those areas of your life that maybe, you want to take some opportunity for growth and studying. Okay. Anyhow, we're going to start off first with the earth elements, right? So if the moon represents our perception and our emotions collectively, the moon in Taurus is the first earth sign I'm going to start off with, because the moon is at home in Taurus. In astrology, each planet has a favorite place to be, a not so good place to be, a detrimental place to be, and then an exalted place to be, right? So it feels like, woohoo, king, queen. But anyways, in Taurus, the moon feels it's exalted in Taurus, right? So it feels very, very, very comfortable at home. It's like the queen of the day, so to speak. And in Taurus, the energy of Taurus is one of I have, right? So those things that you value, those could be financial, could be materialistic, could be home. Taurus is really a very fixed, grounded energy. It takes a lot of time for Taurus to get moving. And so, but once it does, it's the bull, right? It kind of bulldozes you, okay? And it does get things done. It does have consistency. So with the moon, you may initially not be all that motivated to get started. You may not feel all that motivated to get to those I have things, but eventually you do get started, and this moon does have quite a bit of consistency to it, right? The next earth sign that I'm going to describe, the next two are Virgo and Capricorn. And the moon does not do very well in Capricorn, especially. Okay. And both in Capricorn and Virgo, moon people in Capricorn and Virgo, sometimes we have, me included, Capricorn moon here, sometimes we spend almost a lifetime trying to feel comfortable in our own skin, right? We have a hard time with the perception and determining our perception. And one of the reasons for that is, for example, with Virgo, Virgo is an earth sign, right? It has that sense of analyzing. So it's I analyze, I research. The problem with that, though, is that the moon is fluid. It moves around so quickly, right? So it doesn't have that groundedness or that time to dig into the weeds, so to speak. So Virgo moons may sometimes be focused too much on the details of something, and they will get stuck in the details and not allow themselves to be fluid or experience fluidity and emotion. Okay. Same thing with Capricorn. In Capricorn, the moon is at its detriment. It's at its worst place. Yay, lucky me. Okay, so perceiving emotions from a Capricornian point of view is really more about work. How do I use what I have around me to be able to accomplish my goals? What's going to make me feel better? I'm going to feel good by getting things done, right? The problem with that, though, is that if you're too focused on getting things done, then you lose track of the passion and the love for what you're doing. So, but at the same time, even though it's in detriment, it is still a very consistent moon. It will work, and sometimes tend to forget about all the other fun stuff it's supposed to do. So that's the earth sign. Earth is fixed, right? It's consistent. Now let's talk about water, okay? Because the moon is really very much more comfortable in water. The moon is fluid. It regulates our tides, right? It regulates even the water within our body. Okay, so the moon is at home, its regular home in rulership in Cancer. So if you have a moon in Cancer, you really are at the prime of I feel, right? There's a sensitivity to the moon in Cancer. Cancer is that nurturing energy, that feeling, but sometimes that moon in Cancer can become overly sensitive, and as soon as that sensitivity hits, that moon, those emotions, that perception is about putting yourself in that shell, right, in that crab shell. So you want to be careful to do that, okay? Don't be so sensitive when it comes to putting yourself in that shell. The next water sign is Scorpio, okay? So our scorpionic energy tends to get a bad rap, sometimes, especially when it comes to the moon, because it can be a very harsh but very sensitive energy for the moon, right? So Scorpio goes in deep. It's like, I always describe it like, those waves, the Hawaiian surfers, and the wave on top looks absolutely beautiful and fluid, and it's just looks so easy to surf on there. And then if you take the camera and you look underneath, there is going to be all of this rumbling and shaking of the water and the sand, and it's just kind of a hot mess underneath there. And sometimes that's scorpionic energy. It is deep. But with that being said, it is a moody type of moon, okay? The moons will fluctuate, okay? Just like the turbulence, it may be turbulent, but once you get connected to a scorpionic moon, that sense of transformation happens. So for Scorpio, it's I transform, okay? I transform through my emotions is really the perception that the moon has. And then, of course, in Pisces, we have the moon. The Pisces is more of a gentle, more of a peaceful type of flowing water, right? It is the essence of I believe, right? I have faith. So people with, moons in Pisces are probably going to see their perception of life and show their emotions, emotional reactions in a manner that has faith. Now, sometimes this comes across as, well, faith is great, but don't you feel you should be doing something instead of just hanging out and letting things happen? So people with the, Pisces moon want to be very careful not to get, overly caught up in the whole, everything's going to take care of itself, right? There needs to be some work put into your daily experience, okay, and your emotional conditions. Okay. All right. So the next element that I'm going to jump into is Gemini, right? And so Gemini is an air sign. These are air signs. And Gemini is the twins. And of course, air is flowing and it's fluid and it flies around. And Gemini, the twins, is about duality, right? So there's going to be a dichotomy when it comes to Gemini, right? It could be headed in this direction one moment and then suddenly, shift directions just like the wind, okay, and it's headed in a different area. Which is great. It's a very social moon. It's a very communicative moon. Its perception is through words, through thinking, and it will express its emotions in those ways. So Geminis will probably be the flirtatious ones that come and give you that line of like, hey, good looking, I know that was corny, but you know what I mean, okay? But with Gemini, you want to be cautious because Gemini can also sometimes it can be superficial. And unlike Scorpio, where Scorpio is deep, the moon in Gemini may be very superficial. So if you're looking to connect with someone at a deep, 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 deep level, Gemini moon may have a little bit more difficult time doing that. That's not to say that they're not deep people. Don't get offended if you're Gemini moon. That's just saying that you prefer to be more on the social butterfly than sitting with someone, diving into those deep, deep, deep emotions. Okay. And then Libra, of course, Libra is the scales. It's the balance. One thing about Libra, whether sun, moon, or rising, that sometimes people misinterpret is Libras are not in balance. Rarely. They are always searching for balance. That's what the Libra energy is. So that's why sometimes the moon in Libra may be indecisive. It may not necessarily know how it feels. It may have a difficult time expressing it. It's very social and it likes to be in relationship and it likes to have that connection. But once it's in that connection, sometimes it doesn't really quite know which direction to go if it feels out of balance, right? So again, that's another air sign. Okay, and then of course we have Aquarius. Aquarius is air. It's not water. It's air. The glyph is kind of wacky because it makes you think it's water, but it's not. So air. So with Aries, we have the sense of the moon saying, I know. Different than Pisces, where I have faith. Okay, and we're going to get to Sagittarius in just a bit. They're very similar but different. Aquarius is air, so it's up here, right? There's the essence of knowing, of planning, of looking ahead. So the emotional moon, the perception is always typically one of looking to the future, right? Sometimes Aquarius moons will have a challenging time being in the moment. It's kind of hard to get them in the moment. Because they're air, fluid, right? Flying around, and then B, because naturally they gravitate to the progressiveness. And Aquarius moons are typically pretty solitary for the most part. Okay, again, these are just generalizations, not, set in stone. But Aquarius moons tend to have that aloofness to them, that sense of, I'm okay by myself. I got the party together. Now I'm going to go sit in the corner and just enjoy it. Okay. All right, so now let's jump into the fire signs, okay, the moon and fire signs. So the first fire sign is in Aries. And the moon in Aries is really focused, its perception on I am, me. Yes, so sorry, Aries. Sometimes y'all do come across as selfish, right? But the great thing about Aries energy, especially when it comes to the moon, is that there's a great emphasis and passion and fiery nature that lies at the forefront of what the perception is for the moon, right? So it knows the direction it wants to go. It has the energy behind it, okay? But unlike the Taurus, Virgo, and Capricorn moons that are consistent because they're grounded, the Aries moon may start off with a bang and then fizzle out. So what does this mean emotionally? Well, sometimes, you may jump in a little too quickly and then find yourself like suddenly trying to backtrack to get out of emotional situations. I'm just going to leave it at that. Okay. All right. The next one is Leo, right? And Leo's theme, moon theme is I will. I will things to happen. I am the coach. I am me. I can make everything happen. So there's this grandiosity with the moon and its perception, right? And it's a great, loving energy, right? Especially when you're able to hone it in correctly. However, sometimes if it gets askew, okay, that emotional perception may turn to me. I am amazing. I am awesome. Okay. And so Leos may have a tendency of either being overly like, okay, Leo moons, anyways, or it's about me, 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 me. So sometimes they have difficulty finding that balance between those two. And then, of course, we have Sagittarius. And Sagittarius is, I see, over there. Sagittarians' moons are amazing. They're fiery. They are moody for the most part. Again, since this is generalizations. But their perception of the reality and the emotional experience that they have is really one of over there. I'm here. How do I get over there? So you may have a difficult time holding on to a Sagittarius moon and emotionally because they're always on the constant move. They want to be over there. They accomplished this. We got this. Great. But I want to be over there. Okay. All right. So those are the elements. Those are very brief rundown. But anyhow, how can you use this on, as a daily help for your life? That made no sense, but you know what I mean. How can you use this in your daily life? Okay. Well, you want to get to know where the moon is, throughout the 29-day cycle. And depending on where the moon is, that there is going to be a pattern, because that's what astrology is. It's identifying patterns of certain behavior, certain outcomes. Okay, where that moon is. So let's say, for example, the moon is in Capricorn. Okay, and so we know that today the emotional attention collectively may probably be on, getting things done. Capricorn moon is, we got this, we're going to get things done, right? If the moon is in Pisces, okay, we know that that day we might feel a bit more spiritual or, just kind of go with the flow, right? If it's in, for example, Aries, we may want to start those projects right away. We may want to, dive right on into that relationship. Okay. If it's in Libra, we may feel like we need to find some balance in that life, maybe some diplomacy, some social connection, right? If you are interested in learning more about your personal moon and how you can use it to help you become a better person and a better human being, and maybe have some fun with it and let the devil side show up too. Okay, let me know. Reach out. I'm at Spiritual Lessons, Transpersonal Counseling, and at Two Gypsies. That is me. Well, I'm one of the two gypsies. But anyways, thank you all so much, and I hope this has been somewhat informative for you. Take care. Stay safe.